Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar. We're going to be covering configuring and using member attachments. Before we get started, we'll go over just a smidge of housekeeping. If you are a ClubExpress customer, welcome. Happy that you're here. We would love for you to tell us how you feel about us on any one of the review sites that you see listed there. You can go to clubexpress.com/reviews, find a review site that you like. Tell us how you feel. Those reviews help us realize what we're doing right, what we need to change, and they also help other potential customers determine if ClubExpress is going to be a good fit for them. So if you have a couple of minutes, we highly encourage you to leave us a quick little review. All right, diving into our topic today. So, our topic today is kind of a small one. It may not take us through the full hour here, but we'll see where this takes us. Member attachments are a relatively basic built in feature that allow members to upload files to their member profile. They can do this during sign up, they can do this throughout their membership by just navigating to their profile. Administrators can also upload documents to a member's profile, and those documents can be invisible to the member or visible to the member. You can excuse me. You can include an approval process with those documents that you're asking your members to upload. And you can also include versioning. So if you have a set of licenses that you need to see previous years for, you can add attachments where members can upload year after year the same license, and you can kind of keep an ongoing record of those items. And again, these attachments can be managed by the member themselves or by a website administrator. So in our demo today, we're going to be going through adding different types of attachments and kind of going through the different settings, how you might pair some of those settings together to get exactly the behavior that you want. We're going to go through adding attachments as an administrator, what it looks like for a member when they're going to be uploading their own attachments, and how you might approve different attachments. So we're going to be going through quite a bit today. So strap yourselves in. We'll go ahead and stop sharing and switch gears just a little bit here. And everyone should be seeing the Northwest Balloon Club. Northwest Balloon Club is one of our demo sites. I'm currently signed in as an administrator as Martin Smith, and we're going to be signed in as an admin for a good portion of our webinar today. I'm going to navigate to the control panel. And in the People tab, I'll select member attachments from the setup section. Now, remember that in the setup section, you have your setup features. These are not modules. You don't have to enable them or disable them. They just come automatically with your site. So I'll go ahead and click member attachments, and we have a bunch of attachments configured already. So we'll go through some of the ones that we've set up so far, and we'll also talk about the screen that you're seeing here. At the top, you have our standard ClubExpress buttons. Starting from the left are your member attachment options, and there are just a few options here. Plenty of our modules have a lot of different defaults and options to configure, but some of them only have a few. Member attachments is one of them. Whether or not you want to enable the profile link. So there are two ways that member attachments get into the member profile, either by adding them through the profile or adding them through the membership signup wizard. So if we disable that profile link, your members will only be able to upload those documents as part of the renewal process, or administrators would upload those documents. And then we also have an additional option to change the word that you might be using. So in this case, we've just left it as attachments. You might use that to describe something that more fits your organization and the types of attachments that you're collecting. You may not be necessarily collecting a lot of documents from your members. You might be collecting more images or photos. You can change that word or that keyword as it applies to you. Back in our attachments admin screen, let's start kind of going through the different lists of attachments that we have and what we're seeing on our grid here. And then we'll go in and add our first attachment. We have our title of our attachment. This is something that's visible to both us as administrators and the members when they're uploading that item. The status, most of our attachments are active. We have one disabled attachment, and that just means that the member isn't able to see that attachment and they're not able to manage that attachment any longer. They can't delete it. They can't add a new one. And you'll notice that we do have the option to delete those attachment types, but we've chosen to just disable that. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. Who can view and who can upload the attachment, your format, and then a couple of extra requirements, whether the attachment's going to be required or if it requires approval. So you can see a very quick overview of the attachment types in this grid. And we can continue to edit those attachment types as long as the attachment is in this grid. I'm going to go ahead and add a new attachment, and let's talk about some of the options that we have, and then we'll come back and take a look at some of the specific attachments that we've configured. First, we have our title and description. So this is visible to the member. So we'll call this new training attachment, and we'll include our description. Next up is your status. So this is where you would come back and disable an attachment if you no longer wanted it to appear as part of the member profile or as part of the sign-up wizard. If there are items that you're no longer collecting, but you want to leave that open and potentially be able to view all of the attachments that have been previously submitted, you might elect to disable that attachment. In this case, we'll just add that as an active attachment. Next are who can view the attachment and who can upload the attachment. Those are two different fields. So you may have attachments that administrators are able to view and upload versus whereas members can only upload the attachment maybe the first time and they can't edit it. There are a couple of different ways that we can configure this, and behind the add attachment screen, you can actually see that we've added a bunch of different attachments with different view and upload properties. So they don't always have to be the same. In this case, let's say that we want both members and administrators to be able to view the attachment, and members and administrators can upload the attachment. The other options are just to allow administrators to manage the documents. So in another case, we have options to allow members to upload the documents, but only administrators can view them. And what that means is that once the document is uploaded by the member can't edit that document. Only the administrator would be able to view that document moving forward. And we'll see an example of that. Next up is our format. So our format includes a lot of different options. So within a document format, that includes a lot of things like a Word document, an Excel document, a PDF. An image would include image type formats. Now, we have a couple of other spots on our site where you might be distinguishing images versus documents. Think about the type of item that you might be asking people to upload, if it's going to be a scanned PDF, or if most people are maybe going to take a photo of something and upload it. So even if you're accepting documents, you might want to think about maybe your members and what they have access to. A lot of people don't necessarily have scanners these days. If they have something that they may need to just take a quick picture of from their phone and upload it, you might want to think about enabling image uploads for your attachments. In this case, we'll go ahead and select document. And then your next options are where things can get a little bit more granular. So we talked a little bit about versioning at the top of our webinar here. When you enable versioning, what that does is automatically preserves previous items that you've uploaded. So within this training attachment, I can ask my members to re-upload a brand new attachment every single year while still retaining their previous attachment. So I never lose any old licenses that they've submitted, maybe any old applications that they've submitted, those all get retained. And if I don't enable versioning, I can still ask members to upload a new license or certificate or image every year. However, those previous years will automatically get written over when the member uploads a new item. So keep that in mind, kind of work that into your process. Each of your documents can have completely different properties. Some of your documents may require versioning, and some of them can be replaced and deleted every year. So these individual documents do take a few minutes to set up, but remember, again, they can all behave independently. whether or not the item is required. So we know with anything that's required, the system will prevent you from moving further in the process until you've uploaded the required document. So I want to pause, take a quick pause on that and kind of talk about what that would mean for your members. So we're going to go over adding in member attachments to your membership sign-up wizard. And that means that when your members are going through that sign-up wizard and they reach that attachment page, if they aren't able, for some reason or another, to upload that required attachment, they aren't able to move through the membership process, and they won't be able to apply for membership. And on a different note, but similarly, if you add in a required attachment and someone who's already a member visits the attachments page from their member profile for any reason, they won't be able to leave that page until they add in the required attachment. So thinking about whether or not you do need to require those attachments, members, of course, can upload them optionally. It doesn't completely remove it, it just makes it optional. Next up, whether the document requires approval by an administrator before being uploaded to the member profile. If you require approval, you also get the option to add in an attachment expiration date. Now, when you add in an expiration date, of course, you can see with some of our purple instruction text, you don't have to include an expiration date. You can just require approval. But if you add in that expiration date, those attachments will expire. The member will have to upload a new one, and you'll have that approval process baked into that. Now, the last option is to preserve documents. And this is an option that quickly sets a couple of additional settings for you. So when you opt to preserve a document, that document can only be up, excuse me, the document can only be uploaded by, or excuse me, can only be edited by an administrator. And if you have the preservation option turned on and an expiration date set, then you automatically are essentially using versioning, right? And so we enable versioning for you if you have both of those items included. And we have a couple of other documents that we have configured with expiration dates and documents that require approval. So in this case, we aren't going to require approval and we're not going to preserve this document. So what we're looking at now is a document that both members and administrators can view, can upload, and it does not require any approval process and it does not expire. If the member wants to replace this document going forward with a new one, they can, and it'll replace it and overwrite it. We'll go ahead and save this. And we'll talk about some of the other more specific documents that we've created here. Let's start at the top with this 2023 recipe. This one's a little bit of a fun document. So let's pretend that our Northwest Balloon Club, similar to a lot of other clubs and organizations, releases maybe something annually. In this case, it's a cookbook with recipes from all of its members. So in this case, we've added in that members and admins are able to view and upload. We don't have versioning, but we do have in that it requires approval. We just want administrators to be able to double check that the recipe looks good, it's in the right format before they start maybe sending those to the publisher. And these are all, again, attachments that members will see through their member profile. One of the things to point out is that when you enable an attachment, you don't have the opportunity to say when a member can upload it. We definitely can prevent members from seeing it at all within the sign up wizard. But in this case, it's kind of an all or nothing. So you'll notice that when we were going through those attachments, we didn't have the opportunity to say, don't show this particular attachment as part of the sign up wizard. So if you have someone in the case of our 2023 recipe, let's say you want to release that cookbook at the end of the year and you have members who are signing up at the end of the year, they may not want to participate in the cookbook for your club just yet, but they will see that attachment as part of the sign up wizard. Next up, we have a couple of insurance options. So with our insurance card photo, we have a couple of additional things included. We've still allowed members and administrators to view and upload them. We've used an image format and we've included versioning. So that means that when a member uploads a photo of their insurance card, we have required approval and we've included an expiration. So let's say that our ballooning insurance cards need to be uploaded every 6 months to show that they're still valid. And we've included versioning so we can actually see that throughout the member's history, they've had insurance consistently and coverage the entire time. So let's take a look at a couple of things. We're going to switch gears and take a look at some additional things through the member profile. And we'll take a look at our pending attachments as well. So I want to just pop to Martin Smith's member profile. Even though he is an admin, he can still manage his own attachments through the profile. And that's where administrators will manage any attachments. So the member attachments feature doesn't have anything front facing. It's something that you're managing on a profile by profile basis. To find member attachments, in the member profile, under more member options, right at the bottom, we have attachments. Now, right at the top, we can see our brand new training attachment that we've included. All of these are in an order that we've set. If when we head back to our attachment screen, we can change the display sequence of all of these attachments. At the very top, we can see a little legend as well. All of those yellow dots are optional attachments, so we haven't configured those attachments to be required. Our green attachments are ones which have been uploaded and have been approved. Some of the attachments require approval and some of them don't. If you have an attachment that does require approval that has been submitted, you'll see a pending icon. So we don't have any pending approval attachments, and we will take a look at a couple of those on another member's profile. But let's take a look at some of the additional items that we have here. We can go in and add our attachments for our safety license, our waiver, and anything else that we'd like. Our insurance card photo is still here, ready to go. It has not expired just yet. So we have expired attachments that would appear in black, and we don't see any of those here. So let's go ahead and add in a couple of attachments here. I'll go ahead and choose this from my device. A little slow today. And so now we can see that I have this little blue dot. So immediately when I have an attachment that requires approval, it gets uploaded and I have this, excuse me, I have this blue dot. Now, something that you're seeing here that I wouldn't see if I was a regular member would be these approval or decline icons. A regular member would just see the option to edit their attachment, view it, or delete it if they have the option to remove it. But remember that we are logged in as Martin Smith. So Martin can actually pop into individual member profiles to view the attachments and also manage them. Now I'm going to go ahead and return to previous page here. I'll go back into my control panel and I'll pop back into member attachments. Now, if I go into my pending attachments, right next to my add attachment feature, that shows me all of my members' pending attachments that haven't been approved yet. And right at the bottom is my personal pending attachment of my safety license. I can view those attachments and it'll open up in a new tab for me, or they'll download to my device depending on the file format. And I can approve those just quickly through this particular screen. Now, when you're approving an attachment, you can change the expiration date. So if you see that the member is uploading a license that doesn't actually expire on the 20th, maybe it expires on the 26th, you can change that date. I'll go ahead and save these changes, and I can do that for the remaining attachments here. We'll go back into attachments administration and take a quick look at our display sequence here. Our display sequence works the same as it does in a lot of our other features and functions. So if you're ever taking a look at any of our tutorials, our webinars, or you see that display sequencer, it's going to function the same way everywhere. You can use the arrows on the right-hand side to reorder your items, and you can do this as many times as you need to. So in our case, we maybe want to move the training attachment down a couple of items and keep all of our licenses together. I'll go ahead and save this. And now those changes will be live on my site. Now, we have a bunch of different ballooning related items, licenses, insurance, and we've shown how to upload and collect those through the member profile. Let's take a look at how else we can manage those attachments and where we might be collecting them. I'm going to pop right back into my control panel. And in the People tab still, under Admin Functions, I'll select New Member Sign Up. The new member sign up screen is one that you've probably already played with in your time with ClubExpress. It's how you determine what your members will see when they sign up and renew with your organization. You have full control over the pages that they see, with the exception, of course, of our privacy agreement and contact information. But remaining items that are optional on your website are optional for your sign up wizard. You'll also notice, as just a quick tip, for our administrative options, we usually keep a lot of those options unchecked, and we leave those up to the member to manage when they sign up and when they log in for the first time. In this case, we have an option to include member attachments as part of the sign up wizard. So whenever someone new signs up, they'll see that attachments page. If there are items that you want your members to revisit when they renew, double check that they have a current license or document uploaded, a current photo uploaded to their profile. You can include that with the renewal wizard as well. And of course, you can always include those features with first login. I'll go ahead and save my changes. And what I'll do is I will quickly select login as a different user. And we are going to instead start to create a new membership. So I'm not going to go through the entire process of creating a new membership. I'm just going to get myself to our member attachments page. So I'll go through all of the items that my organization has configured for me, and I'll go in and add in some basic contact information. And we're done. And next is when I reach my attachments page. We have all of our optional attachments plus our required safety license. I can go through and add in any attachments that I need to. It looks the same and behaves the same as it would for a member. I'll go in and add my important safety license. And even as part of the sign up process, those attachments are still going to be included with our administrator approval. So we see we still have that blue dot, and I can continue to go through this entire process, view my interests, which if you are curious about, we did just host a webinar covering member interests last week. So you might want to check that out on our YouTube channel. I am going to abandon my membership application, and I'm going to instead sign back in as Martin Smith. So I'll leave this page and sign back in as an administrator. Now we'll pop into our control panel, and we've talked about adding in member attachments to our sign up wizard. We've talked about the different types of things you can do with attachments and how you would access them through the member profile. If you don't want to add in attachments through the sign up wizard, you can certainly remove that page and only allow your members to navigate to their attachments from their member profile. Let's talk about one final spot that attachments might appear in, and it's a relatively new feature, and it allows you to pair attachments with events on your event calendar. So I'm going to pop into my website tab. So this is going to take us on a fun little trip to a different tab. In the website tab, under the website modules, we'll click events. And I'm going to start off with our configure options, and I'm going to take a look at event categories, because what we've set up on the back end of the system is the ability to pair different attachments that you've already configured with an event category. So a practical example of this for our Northwest Balloon Club would be, for some of our events, we require that the members participating have a specific license. And we want to be able to quickly see whether or not the registered members have that license uploaded, and we can quickly access that through the registration screen. So when we set up our event category, and right at the bottom, we have a testing attachments category. I'll go ahead and click that edit icon, and you can see that we can link it to various member attachments. Now, we don't have to call this testing attachments. We did that just so it was easily identified for us during our webinar today, but you can link member attachments to any one of your categories. So in our case, if we wanted to pop into, let's say, our flying events, and say that in this case, we've limited our registration, but let's say that we wanted to add in an insurance card photo and our ballooning licenses. We want to make sure that our members have all of their licenses ready to go whenever they're registering for a flight event, and I can save those changes. Now, what this does, and I'll go back into my events manager, and I'm actually going to open up an event that we've configured that includes member attachments. So we have our event testing member attachments right here. I'm going to select this edit icon. And on the back end, we can see that the category is testing attachments. So we've already paired some of our attachments with the testing attachments category. And we have registrations for this event. So whenever someone registers, their attachments are automatically linked to their registration if they're a member. And in this case, we have just members who are registering for this event because it's a members only event. And you'll note, if you've spent quite a bit of time in the registration manager, you'll note that there's an extra icon because this is an event whose category is linked to attachments. You get a brand new attachments link in the maintain options for the registrants. And I can click on any one of these people. Let's go ahead and pick Carol. I'll click on the attachments option and I can see Carol's insurance card photo. And a fun little option is that I can see, oh no, as an admin, I have let my duties slide and I didn't approve Carol's insurance card photo. I can quickly approve that from this screen, take care of that right away. And now it looks like I'm on top of my job. And with each one of those items, even if there isn't any approval available, if they just don't have the attachment available, you'll see an empty option there. And from there, we can do a couple of different things. You can certainly reach out to the member by clicking their quick contact info to say, hey, looks like you haven't uploaded a license that's required for this event. You can also remove their registration if you just have a zero tolerance policy and you say you're not allowed to register without having that license approved. You can remove their registration also. All right. Well, that was a relatively short topic. I know that we have a handful of questions, so I want to make sure that maybe we covered everything that folks might have questions on. Devin, how are we doing?
Hey, we're doing great. We really only had a couple points that weren't covered. Specifically, and I think I know the answer to this one, but I'll see if you know of another workaround. Is there an option for a notification for an admin or coordinator when an attachment is submitted?
No, there is not. Not to my knowledge. There isn't a notification that comes through. And there also isn't anything like a uh oh, why can't it? There also isn't a coordinator that you might be able to set up like some of our other options. But that's definitely something that we can ask our developers about.
And then in a similar vein, I guess, is there an option? So when an attachment requires approval, does that notify administrators? Or do they have to go and check to see which ones are pending approval?
They would have to go in and check. So, some of the things that kind of could help would be if your membership director is the person who maybe manages those attachments, they can certainly maybe pair when they view those attachments based on, and I'm going through our people options here, based on the membership director emails they might receive. So that's, maybe a light workaround to kind of notify the membership director that there are new members and potentially new attachments there.
Okay. I think that's all I had from the Q&A, unless we want to wait just a second to see what else we get.
We'll give it a couple of minutes. Member attachments is a light topic, but it is a pretty powerful one. It's one of the only spaces where members are allowed to contribute items to your website if they're not a coordinator. So um, we'll give it another minute. Looks like maybe we don't have any questions. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today for our final webinar of the year. We truly appreciate your attendance today and in all of our webinars. We want to send a very heartfelt thank you for supporting us this year and sending in your comments, your questions, your well wishes. We truly do appreciate it. We're very excited about the things that we have in store for next year. So enjoy the holiday, have a happy new year, and we'll see you all back here in 2024. Bye, everyone.